village in New England, there was a little house which belonged to Mr. and Mrs. Whittaker. Up in the little attic of this little house, there lived a little ghost. His name was Georgie. Every night, at the same time, he gave the loose board on the stairs a little creak, and the parlor door a little squeak. And then Mr. and Mrs. Whittaker knew it was time to go to bed. And Herman the cat, he knew it was time to prowl. And as for Miss Oliver, the owl, she knew it was time to wake up and say, "Ooh, ooh." And so it went, with everything as it should be, until Mr. Whittaker took it into his head to hammer a nail into the loose board on the stairs, and to oil the hinges on the parlor door, so the stairs wouldn't creak anymore, and the door wouldn't squeak anymore, and Mr. and Mrs. Whittaker didn't know when it was time to go to bed anymore, and Herman, he didn't know when it was time to begin to prowl anymore. And as for Miss Oliver, she didn't know when to wake up anymore and went on sleeping. And Georgie sat up in the attic and moped. That was a fine how do you do. Pretty soon, though, Georgie decided to find some other house to haunt. He ran to this house, and then to that house. But each house already had a ghost. The only house in the whole village which didn't have a ghost was Mr. Gloam's place. But that was so awfully gloomy. The big door groaned so, and the big stairway moaned so. And besides, Mr. Gloams himself was such a crotchety old man, he came near frightening Georgie half to death. So Georgie ran away to a cow barn, where there lived a harmless cow. But the cow paid no attention to Georgie. She just chewed her cud all the time. And it wasn't much fun. Meanwhile, a lot of time went by, and it rained a good deal. And during the winter, it snowed to beat the band. And out at the cow barn, Georgie was terribly cold and uncomfortable. But what with the dampness from the rain and the coldness from the snow, something happened to that board on the Whittaker stairs, and to the hinges on the Whittaker parlor door. It was Herman who discovered it and told Miss Oliver. she woke up with a start. Miss Oliver flew right over to the cow barn to tell Georgie that the board on the stairs was loose again, and that the hinges on the parlor door were rusty again. What glad tidings for Georgie! He ran right home, lickety-split. And so, at the same old time, the stairs creaked again, and the parlor door squeaked again. And Mr. and Mrs. Whitaker knew when it was time to go to sleep again. And Herman, he knew when to begin to prowl again. And as for Miss Oliver, she knew when it was time to wake up again and say, "Thank goodness."
Rock-a-bye monster on the treetop. When the wind blows, your cradle will rock. When the bow breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come monster.
This little ghost went to market.
This little ghost stayed home. This little ghost ate.
Ghost beef, yum.
This little ghost had none. Little Miss Spider sat on a glider, eating her flies for the day, when along came Miss Muffet and sat on a tuffet and frightened Miss Spider away. Woo!
There once was a witch of Willoughby Wood, and a weird wild witch was she. With hair that was curled and hands that were gnarled and a kickety-rickety knee. She could jump, they say, to the moon and back, but this I never did see.
This I never did see,
A six-handed monster from Gleating joined some boys who were out trick-or-treating. But when he reached for the candies with all of his handies,
Everyone shouted,
That's cheating! Old Witch Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow?
With poison seeds and wicked weeds and skeletons all in a row.
Oh, you put your right bone in, and you put your right bone out. Then you give your right bone a shake, 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 and wiggle in about. A goblin lives in our house, in our house, in our house. A goblin lives in our house all the year round. He bumps, and he jumps, and he thumps, and he stomps, he knocks, and he rocks, and he rattles all the locks. A goblin lives in our house, in our house, in our house. A goblin lives in our house all the year round.
in a dark, dark wood, there was a dark, dark house. And in that dark, dark house, there was a dark,
dark room, and in that dark, dark room there was a dark, dark cupboard, and in that dark, dark cupboard there was a dark, dark shelf, and in that dark, dark shelf there was a dark, dark box, and in that dark, dark box there was a ghost.
Have you seen the ghost of John? Long white bones and the rest all gone. Ooh, wouldn't it be chilly with no skin on? Have you seen the ghost of John? Long white bones and the rest all gone. Have you seen the ghost of John? Long white bones and the rest all gone.
Wouldn't it be chilly with no skin on?
Wouldn't it be chilly with no skin on?
Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater, had a witch and couldn't keep her. He put her in a pumpkin shell, and there he kept her very well. So now...
Peter Pumpkin Eater's having a party. It's going to be a fancy masquerade.
Come as a clown or come as a cat.
Or wear a mustache and a big black hat.
The witch is serving sauerkraut lemonade. Homemade.
Oh, Peter Pumpkin Eater's having a party. Then there'll be a boomity-boom parade.
Boomity-boom.
The witch will cackle a marching song. The ghosts will boo as they glide along. Boo, 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 boo. You're all invited if you're not afraid.
Who's afraid?
So come to Peter Pumpkin Eater's party.
Halloween party.
Followed by awful refreshments. Perfectly awful refreshments. And a parade.